Jody Trietch with us from Traverse City, the most exciting beach town in Michigan. And she is the executive director of Northern Michigan Angels. And she's also a very astute financial person and has worked with investment companies. She's a CPA, and so we're very happy to have her efforts up there in Northern Michigan. So hello, Jody.
Hello. Hi, Diane. Hi, Mike. I would say, yes, it is a lovely summertime up here in Northern Michigan, and I'm joining you from 20 Fathoms, our incubator and entrepreneurial co-working space where you can now work and look at the bay. So they've got plenty of desks if you're a member that you can sit and look out. I'm currently looking at the parking lot, but that makes a difference. I'm happy to be looking at you on Zoom.
Well, let me ask you the same questions I've asked everybody else. Is there a sweet spot or sweet spots that you guys typically look for?
I liked how David had said that they are aggressively agnostic. We are not so aggressive, but we are agnostic in terms of the industry that we'll look at for deals. We are geographically specific. So we'll look at any deal throughout the state of Michigan, but we do have a preference for those deals that are bringing the economic growth to Northern Michigan.
And are you discovering a lot of those?
It has been steadily evolving with spaces such as 20 Fathoms, with the network that we have established over the years with our other angel groups and accelerators and incubators throughout the state. We're really seeing some exciting progress. Recent news about the investment, $15 million in funding that's coming to build a marine center here. So we're seeing opportunities grow, specifically, although Northern Michigan Angels remains agnostic in this area, we're really working on establishing marine and health tech as clusters.
All right, David or Diane, questions?
It seems to me you're very successful in attracting businesses from other states and getting them to relocate to Michigan. Of course, you're in a garden spot, so that makes sense. Do you do, as Northern Michigan Angels, do you actively try to connect with some opportunities that are out of state where you can invest and maybe draw them into to moving?
So I would say certainly not as active as we are at having these conversations with opportunities within the state. When we're approached by opportunities outside of the state, one of the very first questions, because we've got that gate, that geographic gate or hurdle that they'd have to reach is, would you be willing to relocate here? And if so, what would it take? And so we have had a number of companies. There's a company just sharing this wall with me called Health Bio that moved here from the Bay Area. And there's a stone's throw away, another life sciences company called Aterix that we just recently invested in that moved over here from Madison, Wisconsin.
And the Northern Michigan environment, is that a plus when you're trying to attract companies that do, particularly if you've been living in a big city and you just don't want to do that anymore? Do they want to come to Northern Michigan for all the outdoor features and everything else going on up there?
Yeah, so obviously the natural resources that we have for quality of life is a draw, particularly for the founders and executive team. We're working very closely with our local economic development corporations on what sectors are necessary in terms of workforce, because everyone would love to live here, but if they relocate the company here, we're also needing to then answer the really important questions about workforce that might be available as they're scaling their company, housing, and childcare, because we see economic growth as bringing more families and sustaining jobs here, which of course the types of companies that we invest in are creating and they're creating them at a greater rate than any of the other business sizes or maturities tend to do.
And then sort of a question for everyone. You see all these deals go by. Is there trends that we should be looking for, or suddenly opportunities that were one thing a while back and now are a different thing? I'm trying to, give me some input on that. I mean, are you seeing some really cool stuff coming through that you didn't see before, essentially, right?
I was having our roots with Grand Angels. We're from the conservative west side of the state, so we're kind of slow to jump into things that we think might be sort of trendy or overly risky. So you didn't see Grand Angels or any of the Michigan Capital Network affiliates investing in cyber currencies, for example. And of course, now the hot topic is AI. So that is something that we are looking at carefully and looking at the direction that's taking. And it's certainly the hot topic. And we're going to have an educational session on understanding AI for investors in September, later in September.
Oh, can I come?
Because it is so interesting. Yes, you can. And you'll know a lot of the speakers on this topic because there are the folks that are really experienced here in Michigan in that subject matter. But I think there's a lot of curiosity about it. And it's something now you're seeing a lot in the pitches of the early stage companies where they're weaving in that, oh, it's AI assisted or it's, an AI application. And so we haven't invested based on that yet, but as we learn more and as we see that whole field developing, I'm sure there will be opportunities that jump out at us.
And you're probably seeing the same deal flow we're seeing where just a bunch of AI companies all came out of the woodwork and are raising. What I was surprised with earlier this year is watching how government spending, money flows where money flows, Mike. When the government says it's going to invest in the Americans Recovery Act or the infrastructure bill or the CHIPS Act, how innovators have jumped on that and said, here's how your money gets amplified. And we've seen that from the university spinouts before, because of course they have the opportunity to have their grants amplified by angel money. But now we're seeing that in much broader terms. A wonderful environmental AI company came through and got angel investment from Point Angels last fall that was in the lead pipe remediation space. And they were bridging off of the $15 billion that was in the Infrastructure Act for municipalities to spend on remediating lead pipes. Well, they're in the center of that, well positioned. And all of those angel dollars got great amplification that way.
Jody, do you have any thoughts on that?
With respect to the AI, I think one of the exciting things that we're seeing and that we ask almost every portfolio company for which it's even mildly applicable is, how are you keeping in mind the repercussions of AI, or how are you leveraging AI to now bring your business model and your scaling to the next step? Whether it's just day-to-day operations or it's actually integrating the software into having AI in the code. And we've seen some really innovative and interesting things come from our entrepreneurs and give them a foot up in terms of their competitive positioning in the marketplace.